Okay, so today is March the 12th. It is Tuesday, and yesterday I was not here due to my daughter having a small surgery thing. And so I am going to take this homework from yesterday and reteach everything. This was the homework. We had number 1, number 2, and on the back there was number 3, okay? And what they mean by measures of variation is all the stuff on the front, meaning the median and the LQ and the UQ, and we'll talk about it. Okay, so here is number 1. I have written out, I did this one on the video yesterday, so it's kind of pre-done, but I'm going to talk about it anyway. Okay, so I took the information in the chart and I listed it from smallest to biggest. That's the easy part. Okay, step 2. They want a range. Honestly, this is the range from last week. Like I said, where the cowboy goes out on the range, he goes way out to the biggest number, subtract the smallest number. I'm literally doing 1,465, take away 437. That's how I got 1,028. Does that make sense so far? Okay. The second thing is the median. We did this last week. Okay, median, get them all in order, least to greatest. Then, take it and go in till you find the middle number or middle numbers. I need you to see, when there are 2 middle numbers, if there are 2 of them, you add them up and divide by 2. Here is the one trick that I may not have said yesterday. If your median is added together and divided by 2, basically what you want to do is take that number and kind of section it off by itself. And I know that kind of sounds weird, but I would separate it from the rest. Meaning, I draw the little arrow, I write the word median, and I know to y'all you're like, whatever, Miss Donahue, but this might help you. This number right there is different than those numbers. That is a different number. Okay, so we got the median. The reason I keep saying a different number is because of the LQ and the UQ. Okay, listen. LQ. Listen to what it stands for. Lower quartile. Lower numbers. Lower numbers. Everything lower than the median. So, if I take everything lower than the median, that means it starts right here at this 893, and I go to the beginning of my list of data. I now need the median of those numbers. I'm literally just doing this. So my LQ, my lower quartile, is 513. It's that number. Because it's the median of the lower numbers. Lower L, lower quartile. Uh-huh.
I added up because there wasn't enough space, so I added the 2 numbers. And then I got
Wait a minute. Are you talking about this? This is the only part you should add and divide by 2. Oh, now, here's the thing. If you didn't include that number, you're right. You would have added and divided by 2. But for this one, that median is kind of by itself, which means we have to include that number. So for right now, we're having an exact LQ. There will be some in the future that don't have exact. Does that make sense? I know what you did, I think. Okay. UQ, upper. Think about it, upper. Y'all know that means higher. Upper quartile. Take everything past the median to the right of it, include it in your data set. From there to there. Find the median. Okay, well, that is your UQ right there. 1038 is your UQ. The median of the upper numbers. Everybody good so far? Okay, now, IQR, interquartile range. I want you to see something. How many quarters are in a dollar?
4.
4. You've just now created 4 quarters in this data. Here's quarter 1. Here's quarter 2, quarter 3, and quarter 4. You've broken it down to 4 quarters. So, for an IQR, an interquartile range, what was range up here? What kind of math? Subtraction. So if we subtract on that range, we're going to subtract on this range. The only difference is we're going to do the UQ, that's where I got 1038, minus the LQ. So I got 1038 minus 513, and that's how I got 528 for the IQR. That's how spread apart these two are. So the IQR is 528. The last one is outlier, and I would love to this one's interesting. It's kind of easier if I explain it with some test grades. If everybody in this class, like ignore this data and just think about this. If everybody in this class is in the 90s, my class average is in the 90s, right? Okay, but if I have one kid who makes a 22, does my class average stay in the 90s? No. That one grade is an outlier. It's sticking out further than the rest. And it's a weird number. That outlier can be 2 different ways. It can be that my kids all have 80s and 90s, and that outlier is down here with like a 22. Or it could be that my kids are all making 50s, and that outlier is the kid that made a 99. It can be super high or super low. So you got to look at your data and figure out if it sticks out way past the others. Now, here's my hint. There is, face forward, all the way. There's a mathematical formula for finding an outlier, but it has about 10 steps. So, we don't exactly teach it. We don't teach that crazy formula. What we say is this, especially in my class. It's going to be obvious. Like if you have like a bunch of 30s and all of a sudden you got a 222, that number does not fit in those 30s. You know what I mean? Like it's going to be really obvious. So like this is kind of how my brain works on the outlier thing. If I'm looking at this end of these numbers, I see 800s, 600s, 500s, 400s, 400s. Does that number stick out really far past that one? So there's nothing down there. If I go up here, I see 900s, I see thousands, basically 1,100, 1,400. I'm going to be honest, if you consider that an outlier, I'm good with it. I would say that, it kind of is an outlier. So it can kind of be either way on that one. I'm going to be honest, if it was a test, my outlier would be like 1,800 and something, where you're like, oh yeah, that is for sure an outlier, okay? Mine are going to be really obvious, really obvious. Okay, you good on that one? Mm-hmm. Okay, let's do the next one. Now, all I've done on the next one, so you can kind of see me work one out or work 2 out, is I just listed them. So I've listed them from least to greatest, just to make my life easier. Okay, here we go. Range. 185 is the biggest number minus the smallest number. And this is where you got to memorize what to do on each part. On Friday, you can't walk up to me and go, do I add or do I divide by 2? This is the part you got to know. Okay, median. I'm literally taking my fingers. There's no other way that I do this. Whoops, I lost track. Sorry. You can even see that I lose track. Okay, I need you to see something. The median on this one is 41.88. It is the median. That means I'm going to kind of block that off now. I need to kind of pull it out of my data because you don't want to use it on the LQ or the UQ. Okay, so I drew like a box around it, if it helps. Okay. Now, for my LQ, my lower numbers, everything to the left of the median's in it. So I start here, I draw a little bracket, and I'm going to find the median of those numbers. Do y'all see how that's the LQ? Okay. So that's my LQ. Now I'm going to do UQ. I start here and I go up. That is my UQ. My median of my top numbers. Okay. Everybody good so far? Okay. And I'm telling you, I use the colors every time. I draw the goofy little brackets, the arrows, and all that. Okay. Now, IQR. You got what? For which one? Did you add and divide by 2? I think you added. Check. Oh, you're on that one. Add them again. Add them again. 36.97 plus 41.88 divided by 2. Oh, wait. We're not supposed to be adding. You skipped a number. 6. I have 7 numbers, and you have 6 numbers. That's what's wrong. You skipped the median, I think. 41.88. Smack dab in the middle. No, you got the median. 78.99. You missed a 78.05 right there. Listen, that's why, like, when I do this, I triple check that set of numbers before I start doing any math. Then I realize I'm not keying all this in my calculator twice because I kind of got you guys checking behind me. Honestly, I've also got an answer key. If I'm at home, I'm keying it all in twice. I'm making sure all this stuff is right. Especially if it's a test, okay? Okay, IQR. It is literally the UQ minus the LQ. So it is 99.8 minus 33.11. And I believe you, I can't keep up. Okay, 66.69. Okay. Now, outliers. I'm seeing 36, 33, 31, 78, 99, 185.
185.
I would say 185.55. Because it's such a big jump. I'll admit, I would hope if it was test, I'm going to try to make it even more. Okay, last one on the back. Here we go. There were, on number 3, on this one, there is 2 sets of data. When there are 2 sets of data, you have to set it up the way that, like, I've kind of set it up here. And when they said for the means of variation, they meant all this stuff. So, here we go. Range. Range is for the week 1 is 90 minus 40, which is 50. The median is going to be right here between these 2 numbers. It is added together and divided by 2. It is 50. So I added 55 plus 45 divided by 2. Okay. The LQ is from here down, making 45 the LQ. The UQ is from 55 up, making 60 the UQ. Close enough. Oh my gosh. Okay. IQR, 60 minus 45. 15. And then I'm looking at my data. I got 40s, 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 50s, 60s, 90. 90 kind of, like it's going from 40 to 60. The 90, but I'm going to be honest, like if it was a test, it might be 122. Like it'd be a bigger, bigger, bigger number.
It'll stand out.
Okay. It'll stand out, yes. Okay. You got it? Oh, okay. Here we go. Range. 75 minus 30. 45. Median is 50 again. It is in the middle, though. LQ is 35. UQ 60. 60 minus 35. 25. Any outlier? No, because these are even like 15 jumps. It's okay. Basically, by tomorrow, I want you to think about this. Last week, we found mean, median, mode, and range. Now we're doing median, LQ, UQ, IQR, and outlier. Now we're doing MAD. Okay? It's a lot to do with one set of numbers. You've got to stay organized. You kind of keep studying it and practicing it, to be honest. We're now going to do MAD. It's got a bunch of steps to it. It's not hard. In fact, it's a mean and a bunch of subtraction and a mean again. But you really need to write, like, get with me on this. Without the notes, I'll be honest, unless your parents are statisticians or mathematicians, they may not remember how to do this. Statistician is a person who does statistics. So they run numbers all the time, basically. A lot of these people will be people who work for large companies and stuff because they're wanting to make more money for that company. That kind of stock market. I think it's stock market. Okay, here we go. Now, in every class, we have taken these notes, so I'm hoping you're with me. Okay, so the notes today are about mean absolute deviation, and the date is the 12th. Okay, now, for the definition of mean absolute deviation, and this should be the last definition you need to really start studying for Friday's test, it is the average distance between everybody's hand should be filling this in. Each data value and the mean of a set of data. So, this definition, mean absolute deviation, it stands for MAD, or we can shorten it to MAD, thank goodness. It is the average distance between each data set, or each data value, and the mean of the set of data. Basically, we're going to talk about today how far spread apart are numbers. If you go back to thinking about test grades, if everybody in my class is in the 90s, are my test grades really that spread apart? No. But if I got kids in the 20s and the 30s and the 40s and the 90s and the 60s and the 50s, I got kids all over the place. That means I have this big mean absolute deviation. They're spread apart. I want you to think about that as like a teacher. I want my mean absolute deviation to not only be really close together, but I kind of want it to be what I'm going to call high. I'm hoping that you guys' grades are all around at the lowest 70. But I'm hoping they're all in the 80s or higher. But what if I get y'all's grades back and they're all down here in the 40s and 50s? I need to reevaluate and reteach. And sometimes that happens. So we don't only we look at this stuff all the time, but even when I talk to Sawyer and Willis, who know these terms, I do not walk up to them and go, what was your mean absolute deviation? We don't talk about but we talk about averages all the time. I even think in my brain when I grade y'all's test, how did 4th period do compared to 8th period? How did 1st do compared to 4th? It's just, we do it. We just don't exactly use some of these words. Okay, so we're going to determine the mean absolute deviation of the following zoo admission prices. Notice, money amounts. Yes? What? Yes. Don't worry about the little words, but I need you to add this 0 right here to make it a nice, clean money amount. Don't really worry about the letters. Now, I'm going to tell you, there's a lot of writing to this, a lot of steps. Try to keep it organized like me, and it'll kind of help you fit it all in there, I guess. Okay, so when finding mean absolute deviation, step 1 is we're going to find the mean of the data. Okay, we're going to find the mean of these numbers, which isn't bad. I mean, think about it. All we got to do is add and divide by how many numbers there are.
6.
Okay, now, thinking about money amounts. I got 8.6 repeating. What should that American money amount be?
$8.66.
66 or 67?
66.
Listen, I got to keep it as close as possible, so I got to go to the thousandths. I'm sorry, I was trying to think it out. Is a 6. That tells that 6 to go up to a 7. So it's going to be 8.67. Now, this is the part that, if you don't have this right, we're going to mess up the rest. Okay, step 1 is find the mean. Step 2 is we're going to do a bunch of subtraction. We call this part just subtract, and you want to write it all out. Okay. We're going to take each piece of data and subtract the mean from it. Now, the way I do this is I list the data first. You need to list the numbers. So 9.25, then 9, 9.5, 7.75, 8, and 850. Okay, I listed my data, but I'm going to subtract the mean from it. I go ahead and write it all out before I pick up the calculator. But now, because this is a distance, we're going to change anything negative to a positive. So if you get negative calculator numbers, change them to positives. Okay, use your calculator. Be finding these answers. 9.25 minus 8 point, Philip, do it, 67 is 0.58. 9 minus 8.67. And I'm literally I'm going straight down the list here. So like right here, I got negative 0.92. Just take the negative away. It's 0.92. Since it is a distance, how far apart something is. So I'm saying, none of this is hard, especially if you got a calculator. It just takes forever. Yes, and it's a lot of writing. Don't skip that step. Like, you got to write it out for me. Okay, now the last step is we're finally going to find the mean absolute deviation. We're finally going to find the MAD. Okay, all it is the mean of those numbers. Add up all these numbers and divide by how many? 6, because there's 6 numbers. So now we're just going to add all these up. Okay, kind of weird. Like, you just found the MAD. It was 0.583 repeating all the way across my calculator. But since these are what I call American money amounts, and there's only 2 digits past the decimal, the 3 is below 5, so it told it to stay the same. So I made it 58 cents. That is the final MAD. Like, that is what we're looking for. Now, quit flipping the paper over and get with me. I want you to think about it. Is 58 cents a lot of money? No. It is really not in American money. So it's saying it's not really spread apart that much. And if you kind of look at these amounts, $7.75 to $9.50. I mean, that's not a bunch of money. So, yes.
I got 2.9 divided by 6.
Go back. You probably skipped a number. Try to add it one more time. Or something. I'm not real sure. I wouldn't. Make sure you got all the same numbers. Now, the last part is to write a sentence or a statement about it. And this is the statement that Ms. Sawyer used. It says the average distance between the prices and the mean because these are your prices, these are your mean, is 0.58 or 58 cents. Like that, I get why we wrote that, but I'll admit it's kind of easier. Like if we talk test grades or something, you know, it's just easier. If I say that my kids in first period have a mean of 35 points, but my fourth period has a mean of 10 points, or MAT, I'm sorry, 35 compared to 10. You kind of hope that you have a MAT of 10, right? Like you hope that you're all kind of close together. But where do you want that 10 to be? Do you want it to be in the 80s or the 30s? Where do you want your numbers to kind of veer around? 80s, 90s, you want them up there. So it's easier when you're comparing two things to me, just to be honest. So, okay. Let's look at the next one. Here we go. Morning temperatures compared to afternoon temperatures. Now, first off, please look down here. The copy machine 8, the number 1, and the number 84. And without them, you're going to end up without the right stuff. So make sure you got those. Like it's going to end up messing up your data. Okay, now, if you will stay with me, I'll help you figure out how to set this up where it all fits, okay? We're going to find the mean absolute deviation for this set, and then we're going to find it for this set. Here we go. Start out with the mean. I'm going to write it way over here on this side. Start out with just one set at a time. Okay. So, for the mean, I got to add them up. $333 divided by 6 is 55.5. Okay. And listen, you've got notes. Look at what you did above it. On the next part, we subtract. I list the data set first, like I just list. 59, 50, 54, 61. Everybody's pencil should be writing because there's no way you're done with this already. 54, 55. I check and I make sure I've got them listed right. Okay. I look back at my notes. I subtracted the mean last time, so I'm going to subtract the mean this time. Remember, and if they're negative, just change them to a positive. It goes back to those fancy 2 bars of absolute value stuff. Absolute value meaning distance. Guys, you should be doing this with me, so when you see these weird numbers on the calculator, you won't get flipped out about them. last step was the MAD, where I literally take all those little numbers, add them up, and divide. I divide by 6, so it is 3. So that MAD for the morning is 3 degrees. So if you think about it, that's not a lot of degrees. That means every morning it's about the same temperature. Okay, not 3 degrees, it's spread apart by 3. I'm glad you said that though, I never thought about that. It's spread apart by only 3 numbers. On average. It's an average of an average, basically. Okay. Now, we got to do the afternoon. So now I'm going to kind of squish it in here. Okay. Same thing. Yeah. Y'all are grumbling and griping. I've been doing it all morning. Okay. Here we go. Don't crack me up. Well, I've been teaching the same lesson, so yes. Yes, I've been doing it for quite a few years. It's not hard. It's just all calculator use. That's all it is. You got to just keep telling yourself that. Okay, so I got my mean is 75 for the second set of numbers. Now I'm going to start a bunch of subtraction. I'm checking my data, making sure I'm copying them right. Some of you haven't picked up your calculator yet. Okay. Now the last step is to find the MAD, meaning the mean of those numbers. We're going to add up all these little numbers and find the mean of them. Add them up and divide by however many numbers there are. Which is 5.3 repeating. Guys, Philip, please look forward. Please get with me. It is 5.3 repeating. So what that means is your afternoon temperatures are spread apart more. Well, that would be freezing, but yes, they're spread apart more. That one's only spread apart by 3 degrees. That one's spread apart by 5 degrees. Now, you would need to write a sentence about that. This is the sentence that we came up with this morning. And you could write about afternoon. We just chose morning. Sentence is, morning temperatures have a lower because you've got to be able to describe your findings because they are closer together. don't know. Some of you haven't picked up your pencil the whole time I'm writing. So I don't know how you're going to have a description of it. You could have, like this one's morning temperatures have a lower MAD because they are closer together. You could say afternoon temperatures have a higher MAD because they are further apart or more separated. Now, you need to keep this paper out. Trying to let them finish. Everybody get on the front sentence. On the back, good. Okay, on the back, first off, I need you to mark out number 4. I have asked all classes to mark out number 4. Stop. Number 4. Now, I need you to look at number 1. You're basically going to find the mean absolute deviation for number 1, number 2, and then number 3 has 2 parts. But on number 1, I've kind of talked about this in each class. I need you to kind of slow down because, like, there are 8 numbers up here. And just because 2 of the numbers are 0 does not change anything. They're a number. So when you do 0 minus the mean, you get a number. When you're finding the mean, we got to divide by
0.
Okay, we got to divide by 8. We would add all these up and divide by 8. Even though 0 is in there, it is a number. Yes, add 0 in there. Okay? You may go finish 1, 2, and 3 for homework. You may need to do it on notebook paper.